morning we're going to be talking about communication and what it's like to communicate with each other. So we are going to play this game, and I've got 3 headsets, and we're going to do one at a time. Should we? No, do 3 at a time? Let's do one at a time. Okay, sorry, we'll do one at a time. We got 3 headsets, but that's fine. So here's what we're gonna do. This is a communication game that they're gonna have to put on headphones, and they turn on a little timer on their headphones, and then that gives them a chance for their partner to say a phrase, and they have to read their lips and say what they think that partner is saying, okay? Okay, so it'll be fun. Lisa, will you come up here? You can come with me. You can come help me. You're my partner anyway, and you could help me. In case you didn't know, this is not my daughter, it's my wife, all right? So some of you guys who are being smart alecks and just thinking that, okay? We're gonna put these up here and we'll just do one at a time. Okay, so our first contestants will be Kelly and Garrett. Come on, have a seat right there. One. Who's the better mind reader in this family? Okay, so you put this on, and there's a little button. Take it off for just a second. There's a little button right here that when we say go, you're gonna press that button right there. And then you gotta put your hands over it. You gotta cup the things and hold them onto your ears so that you can't hear anything. And it's on a timer. Okay. So in like, I don't know, 5 minutes, no, it'll be quicker than that. At a certain time, it'll go off and then you'll be able to hear. But in the meantime, you're gonna try to guess what he's saying. I'm gonna give him a phrase.
I can say it out loud?
No, yeah, well, you will say it. No, you'll mouth it. You'll mouth it to her. Not yet. Okay. Microphone. Do we have a microphone? Okay, so you're going to hold this because we want to hear the funny things that you're saying. And you guess anything. Just go for it. Whatever you think he's saying, guess. Okay. And you just be as explicit as you can with your mouth. All right? You can't use hand gestures. You can't get up and do anything, okay? You're just going to have to do. Okay, so here's the one you're going to be doing, this red one here. Okay? All right. Okay? Are you ready? Mm-hmm. Click it. Cup your hands. Okay.
I seriously love nonsense. I seriously love eggs. Negs. I'm seeing Nancy.
Who's Nancy?
I seriously love.
How long is this timer?
Dancing.
Yes, they got it. Unbelievable. Give him a hand. How was that making noise the whole time?
Yeah, I can't hear anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's still, do we click it? How do we?
No,
yeah, okay, stop. All right, give me a hand. Who's next? Our next culprit's Gary. Come on. Yeah, we can. Okay, we'll see. Yeah, I'll say it out loud. Okay, Gary, you're doing that. Okay.
Wow, lots of noise.
Oh, you're not supposed to press it. That's all right. Here, we'll get it going. Okay, so this one is. Can you hear anything? You got to cup it. Okay. This one is, I had too much meatloaf. Okay, here we go.
Do I say it?
No, he does. Yes. You mouth it. Go. Okay.
Next partner.
Dude, she's stuck.
I love
Guess it.
One syllable at a time. Pass.
Okay.
You've got great muscles. Here we go. Guess anything.
I'm getting a new truck.
All right, their time ran out. Give them a hand. Give them a hand. Give them a hand. All right. Joe and Sandy, who's guessing what? Who's guessing what? Okay, just guess anything. We love to hear your thoughts. Don't push the button yet. Okay.
Oh, do I have to say it?
No.
Oh,
These
that's
weren't made
fun.
for church.
This one's
Okay,
fun.
okay,
This one's funny. 'Cause
Okay.
It's so not true.
okay. So this one
Hold on. Where's the button?
right here. Okay. Okay, this one is I work out every single day. Okay, go.
I work out every single day.
Boom!
We have good communication.
She has got him trained. Okay, give him a hand. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you. You guys did great. Okay, I'm ready.
Can't hear me?
It's just noise. Okay, go.
Oh, okay. But I'm gonna tell you what he's trying to say. Did you find your jacket? This is funny. He lost it today.
Oh, I got my microphone. I can do it.
Oh, okay.
Santa,
That's you with the beard.
sane, no, sane. Gary, I'm with you.
Okay. We're gonna move on.
You, fight, no, find, dork, it beeped. It beeped.
Did you find your jacket?
Oh. I missed that one. Okay, all right. No, we'll keep going. Okay.
It's a nice try.
You guys forgot to play the bumper thing, so play that now because that I dressed up just specifically for this bumper. Okay.
Have you ever seen a Bitmoji twin that is really a twin? 'Cause his-
I even wore the
Yes.
outfit to match this morning. Okay,
right.
I never even knew what a Bitmoji was. We were putting this thing together, and I said, "Can you make a little character that like has a beard?" And the girl says, "Do you know what Bitmoji is?" I said, "No." And so since then, she says, "This will change your life," and it really has. It's changed my life. It's given me a whole new meaning in life. So
He likes to dress his Bitmoji every day. He dressed it for winter on the Faith Church announcement. I don't know if you guys saw
No,
that.
I didn't put it up. It gets kind of obsessive. So for those of you who don't know what a Bitmoji is, you'll have to just find the app, Bitmoji. It's pretty cool, and you can make yourself up to be a Bitmoji. Okay. You want to tell them how I broke my phone
Yeah,
today?
his phone is broken. Can I go on record and say I'm the only one in my family that has never broken their phone? Is it bad to say that? Is that probably going to happen to me now? So he says he won't ever cancel church, and he really probably won't. But as we pulled up in church this morning and we park in the back and we back in, he got out of his truck and then he was gone. He went down right outside of the church. It was slick, right where we parked. And
We found the
I
slick
saw
spot,
him,
and the pastor
and
is
then
down
I
for the
didn't.
count.
He was gone, and I had to go rush and help you after I
Yeah.
put my coffee down and all my things
I
down.
saved my coffee though, so. but I
You did not
scratch
save
my
your
up.
phone.
But it's kind of humiliating when you hear your wife click, 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 she's coming over. It's the fastest she's moved in months, and she came over to check everything out. I'm good.
You were fine.
I'm okay, yeah. I'm walking crooked like this, mayhem, kind of came in, but I just.
Pride is hurting
okay.
just a little bit.
Just to let you guys know, a couple of things real quickly. And one of the things I want to keep reiterating, especially this morning as we talk about some of this stuff, we have a marriage retreat that's coming up at the end of April. and it's going to be a lot of fun. In Branson, we'll tell you more about it, or tell you some about it in the announcements after, but it's going to be a lot of fun. In Branson, it's going to be Thursday through Saturday. We'll come home Saturday and go down on Thursday night, so you have to miss a day of work, but that'll probably be good for some of you to get that day. Your wife and your husband are worth it, so make the investment and come and go with this. The whole trip cost roughly $300 for the couple, but that includes 3 nights of lodging and some meals, and we're also going to go to the Sight and Sound Theater to see Noah. Samson, okay?
Bible
one of those,
character.
Bible character, one of those. To see Samson, and it's going to be a really good event, and you guys will enjoy it. Those of you who went last year, we had a lot of fun, and it's just a great time to get away and make an investment in your relationship, so we want to invite you to come do that. We have to know by the end of February. We have to have a $100 deposit by the end of February, so we'll need to get that from you guys. And so talk with your spouse about that. Put it on your calendar. It's the 26th to the 28th of April, and we have to get a count by February 25th, 6th, somewhere in there, and we'll let you guys know that specifically, so make sure you put that on your calendar. Okay, this morning, Lisa and I are going to talk about relationships, specifically in communication relationships. Now, we have figured out just by talking, and I've been taking some couples through a premarital type counseling process, and some of these ideas, we kind of came from that process, but I know that in any kind of communication in a relationship, there are certain words that mean something different to me than what they mean to my wife. Same word, we just hear them differently, all right? So there are some words that I can say that she hears differently, and it's just different. And let me give you an example. You'll figure this out. Okay, so if I am at the house, and let's say I am watching television, and I got the remote in my hand, I'm watching away, and Lisa comes watching in. Watch this. This is a word that might get confused. Okay. Okay, that's your cue to do that. We didn't rehearse this. We did,
right.
but
Hey, how do you like these shoes with my outfit?
yeah, they're fine.
Fine?
Okay,
Just fine?
so let's talk about this word fine. All right? So when she asked me a question and I give her my opinion, I said they are fine. So what does that mean to you? What does the word fine mean to you? Well, Lisa, what does the word fine mean to you when I say fine?
Fine is what you tell your mother-in-law when she calls you on the phone. I'm fine. It's what you tell someone when they try and sell you something. How are you doing today? I'm fine. It's not what you tell your wife. And even if you are going to tell her you're fine, you have to actually look at what she's asking you about before you can even say fine. Fine. Fine is not good.
Well, see, for me, when I say the word fine, she asks me, how do you like it? Fine. You know what that word means to me? For us guys, you know what the word means? It means fine. That's just that simple. It means it's fine. Fine. I think they look fine. I don't have an opinion on it. It's not something that I really think about, but when you ask me if I like it, I said, fine. It's fine, right, guys? Fine means fine. Isn't that the truth? Fine means fine.
Fine means you could care less about what I just said.
Well, one of the things I probably should have done and explained it a little bit more is that whenever you are asked a question by your spouse, probably one of the best things you can do is at least look at her, all right? So, I mean, guys, this is it. Watch this. This is crafty. Watch it. Whenever she asks you a question, here's what you need to do. Look to see what they look like and then give an opinion. If you give an opinion and then look, it doesn't count. You have to look, process it in your mind, and we can do this in split seconds, Look and then tell her it's fine. That may help a little bit, but I don't know that it's going to help completely. Some of you ladies are looking mad at this point, and the guys are like, yeah, go. Okay, here's another one. Here's another one. So I walk into the room, just got home from work, put my stuff down, took the dog out to the restroom and did all that kind of stuff. And so I come back in. Lisa is standing in the kitchen looking out the window, and here's how this works. Okay, stand up, look out the window. Okay, here's how this works. Hey, baby, what's up? What are you doing? Okay? What's going on? Okay. You felt it too, didn't you? You felt it too. Okay. That word doesn't mean just fine. Something's going on. So tell me what fine means to you in that situation.
Fine means, how could you even come in and ask how I am, knowing the kind of day that I had? You should come in, walk straight to me, forget the dog, forget looking through the mail, and come straight to me and say, are you doing okay? How are you? I'm so happy to see you today. I rushed right home to get to you.
Yeah, well, it's a two-way street, you know what I'm saying? What I'm saying, if this could turn into something exciting, us guys would be more ready to do that kind of stuff.
Don't you just hate, though, when you're married and you enter in a house and you've been separated for the day, but you don't even acknowledge each other for like 10 minutes because there's things that happen in your house before
I know it.
Yeah.
I know
So,
it. Okay,
not good.
guys, again, this word fine, when she says, I say, how are you doing? She says, fine. This word fine means what? Fine, right? Here, come on, guys, say it with me. Fine. I mean, that's it. It means that she's fine. So then you say, awesome, and you go get your projects done, go do whatever you need to do, and you come back 30 minutes later, and she's still standing there looking out the window with her arms crossed, and that's when you know, okay, it's not fine. She wasn't being honest with me. My wife was not telling me the truth.
You were supposed to know.
Supposed to know. Okay, all right. Well, here's one that actually really has happened recently in our house. As I'm getting stuff together, I'm leaving for the morning. I've got my briefcase and all that kind of stuff. I say goodbye, give her a kiss, as I usually do, as I always do. And I'm walking out the door, and just before I do, I pause and say, you know what, could we do something with all this mail? Because we have mail everywhere. Like on the counter, as you walk in our house, there is mails everywhere. Right, fellas? Are you right? Are you with me? Okay. There's mail everywhere. Could we do something maybe with this mail problem that we've got? And I am on my way out the door, and that's all I say. So for me, that means, wow, we got a lot of mail. We got to do something with it. But for Lisa, that means...
Ay. This is what I heard. Are you ever going to do anything about this kitchen? I mean, have you picked up a broom in months? It's just such a mess. I mean, you haven't even matched the socks in the laundry room in like 6 months. When you are like the worst housekeeper I have ever known. That's what I heard. And I totally cleaned the kitchen before he got home. Totally. It was spotless.
It was impressive.
I did it with the wrong attitude, but it was spotless.
Hey, sometimes anything helps, you just got to get it done. Well, do you notice how it went from the kitchen to the laundry room about socks and all that kind of stuff? I mean, all that stuff is pinned up in her. She needs deliverance, all right? Here's the thing. Us guys, it's just simple, all right? Fine means fine. Male means male. That's just the way it is. We were driving the other day, and Lisa said, what are you thinking? And I'm driving, and I just said, nothing. I'm not really thinking about anything. How can you be thinking about nothing? I don't know. Just not thinking about anything. I mean, just driving. But you got to be thinking about something. I'm not. See this blank piece of paper? Guys can do this, all right? Nothing. Just blank. I'm just driving. I can't even remember if I stopped for that last stoplight. I'm just driving.
It is why the Lord struck him down, because he lied. It's why you fell when you got out of the truck, because it is impossible to think about nothing. You can't do it. You're just not telling me the truth.
There's not much going on up here, all right? I mean, guys, right? I mean, we could put our minds in neutral and just go. So now you see the issues that we have with communicating sometimes. And this isn't just between us. It's everyone. It's all of you guys who are in a relationship, whether you're married or not. If you're in a relationship, you have to learn to communicate with your spouse or that significant other, whoever that might be. you need to learn to communicate with them in a way that makes sense. So what we've done is that we've gone through and just highlighted, I think, 5 specific principles that will help you be able to communicate with each other better. And so I want to go through those 5, and Lisa's going to respond, and we'll go back and forth through these. You've got them in your notes, and they'll be on the screen one at a time so you guys can see them. The first principle is this. It's the principle of first response. The principle of first response. And let me just say, if y'all need to write these down, all right? If you got a spouse that's not writing them down, hey, elbow them. Write these things down. We need this stuff in our marriage. Okay, first is this. The principle of first response. The course of a conflict is not determined by the person who initiates, but by the person who responds. It's not by the person who initiates, but it's by the person who responds.
Yeah, so this took me a minute to understand, but I completely get it. Because there's one thing that you're in control of, and there's something that you're not. You are never in control of what somebody says to you. When he said that about the mail, I was not in control of him saying that. I was only in control of my response. I can be in control of my response. So instead of piling the mail so high in his office, it would take him weeks to possibly go through it, I could have responded much differently. So there are 2 different ways. When somebody says something to you, and you know how it is, sometimes people say things to you and it's just not so nice. I mean, you just aren't taking it very well, but they don't mean it that way. This happens in our house a lot because Kelly, he doesn't get it sometimes. But he said, again, this happened just the other day. He says, you know what? When you're gone, I'm going to retire and go to Colorado. And I thought, okay, this man deserves to go to Colorado. But I had to ask him, why did you say that with so much excitement in your voice? Like I am about to be gone? Okay, so I retorted right back. So when someone says something to you that's not quite so friendly, you can redirect it with your response. You really do want to go to Colorado, isn't that right?
Yes.
Yes, okay, but that's not what I did. I got mad and huffy and puffy and started checking my pill bottles to see if there was anything unusual in there. Oh, and then the other thing, you can redirect that response, and then the other thing that you can do is not respond back poorly when someone has done something wrong. In other words, maybe they really have legitimately just told you something that you are incredibly upset about, and you should be upset, and it's horrible news. I remember one time on stage on a Sunday morning service when I got up to pray for people, using that moment to let my husband know the day before I had gotten a ticket in a school zone. I don't know, I thought it would buffer a little easier with the crowd. And I think it did. But I do remember a time in our house, and this is just an example, where I had been hiding something and harboring something, and it had to do with our finances, and it's way too long of a story to get into. But anyways, I knew the moment where I had to go to Kelly and come clean, and I had to say, listen, this is the truth of where we are and what is happening. And I was so sad and crying, and it was just a distressing time. And in that moment, he could have just been so angry with me and responded with that, how could you? I can't believe you could do that, because it's the truth. How could I? I can't believe that I would be so careless or do such a thing. But it's not what he did. I remember I sat down on his lap and he gave me a hug and he said, I'm sorry that you've been going through this. And that's how he responded back to me. So sometimes, even though you have done something that maybe doesn't deserve somebody else's, care in return, or their response should be angry, when we learn to respond back in an attitude of love and an attitude of who we serve, then it can totally change a situation. Not that you're not going to have problems to deal with, because you are, because we did, but we worked them out. And the thing is, with words, when you respond, they don't go away. Once they're out there, once they're said, they can change somebody's life forever, because you can apologize and apologize, but I am always going to remember that he said with excitement that he is going to be in Colorado when I am gone. So you just don't forget the things. So you have to be careful with your responses.
Great. And see, with that, I would like to rebuttal, but I'm not going to go back through that. But all I'm saying is word to the wise. Ladies, if something has gone really wrong, if you'll come and sit on your husband's lap, it's all going to work out. I'm telling you what, it's all going to work out. Okay, this is a marriage thing, so some of you guys are just going to have to deal with it, all right? Proverbs 15:1 says this, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Jesus was like the best at this because he always had religious leaders that would come to him and say, you know, what are you doing? Are you healing people on the Sabbath? Or they would come and try to get him in some kind of conflict where he couldn't get out of. And Jesus, instead of responding harshly to them and accelerating the situation, he never did. He always gave him a gentle answer. He always deflected. He always tried harder to give a gentle response to them. And it deflated their ability to come at him. They didn't have any ammo left. And so if we, in situations with our spouse, if we can take that ammo away from them, if we can take away that situation and help them be able to focus and help them be able to understand and redirect it with kind words and loving words, it will diffuse all of those situations and you will be able to have a happy marriage. But if you're always fighting and if you're always defensive and if you're always throwing back something at them, then you're going to fight the rest of your life and it's always going to be me against him against her, whatever. You have to understand you two have become one flesh. And so when you're fighting against yourself, you're always going to lose. Make sense? So you always have to give a gentle and kind word back to someone who gives it to you. Number 2 is this, the principle of physical touch. The principle of physical touch. This is one of my favorites. It is difficult to be upset with someone while you are tenderly touching him or her. Now, I'm a touchy-feely person. I like touch. I like holding hands. That's just the way I am. I grew up that way. I don't know if I grew up that way or that's just the way I am. But I love, even if I can just be, sometimes we'll ride in the car and I just grab her arm. I just want to touch. I like touching. I like being touched. I just like that physical affection of whatever it is. Well, let me tell you this. When you're in an argument or when you're in a discussion with someone, it is next to impossible for me to be mean to her or say harsh things to her while I'm touching her. If you'll notice, if you get into an argument or something, when you guys start to go back and forth, you stop touching all of a sudden. And now it's me against her. Now it's my will against her will. But if you will actually physically in that process reach over and connect, touch that person, all of a sudden what it does, it begins to deflate your ability and helps you to be able to communicate with her, talk with her reasonably, and understand where she's coming from because now we are physically touching. It is a physical way that you can de-escalate a situation, an argument that you're having in your life.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so I have to say that this one has probably been a almost 26-year journey as we're almost married 26 years, and something that I have to continually work on because our love languages are completely different because he is physical touch and closeness and he's words of affirmation. I can't tell you how many times he'll say, will you just hold my hand so people know we're together? And he'll say that to me when we're walking through the mall and I'm like,
hey, I'm
come
not
on,
stupid,
we've
all
got
right?
some shoes to buy, let's go. Because my love language is acts of service. And my love language is gifts. So I really want you to take out the trash without me asking, and then if you'll just bring a gift home, I'm really happy with that as well. So we're complete opposites. But this premise of not being able to remain in an argument whenever you're touching is true. But there's one thing, and I would imagine that there's a lot of people in here that have this as their default. But my default, when things get tense, is to retreat. It's always to retreat. If I all of a sudden feel like he is saying something that I'm not okay with or I've taken it internally, I'm going to retreat back and I am going to stop touching. And that comes from a long line of how you grew up. If you if you ever grew up feeling unprotected somehow, then you have built a barrier around yourself, and that is hard to step away from, even when you have been married for the long haul. It was just a week ago with the mail, and that's what I did. I retreated. It was just not that long ago, so it is a constant battle that you'll face. But here's the thing, I never saw a picture at all of a relationship that was physical touch and closeness when somebody would have an argument or have a problem. I never saw that happen in front of me. You know, my parents were each, they divorced when I was 5, and then my mom was remarried, and it was a very tumultuous relationship. It didn't last very long, and I didn't know my dad that well, and they were each on their 3rd marriages. And so I didn't have a picture at all of what that looks like. So if I hear something and I'm going to take it internally, when I retreat, I automatically feel unseen. And then if I stay retreated, I begin to feel unheard. And then if I let it continue, and this happens quickly, I began to feel unwanted, because how could he say that to me? And then the moment I sit in feeling unwanted, all of a sudden I am unworthy. I am unworthy of his love. I don't even deserve it. And how did I go from maybe a simple something that we need to work out legitimately in a relationship, because there is conflict in every marriage, no matter how secure your marriage is, you can't avoid it. But if your default is to retreat, you very quickly could find yourself feeling unworthy. And when you're in that place, it's really hard to work yourself back out. I know, because I sat in that place. I've done it so many times. So this is what I say when you want to say, well, I don't know. I never saw a picture of what it's supposed to look like, and we just argue, and that's just what we do. Or I just retreat because that's just who I am. That's not okay. I realized very early on, and I think I have the most amazing and patient husband in the world.
You do.
Because I do. I realized that I can't use that as an excuse. I recognize that I do it, but that doesn't mean it's okay. And maybe there isn't going to be someone showing me exactly, you can't do that, you can't do that. But something inside of me, with my trust in God and who he is, and the core of who I am, believing that I am worthy of love, I've got to work on myself. No one else, it's not okay to be that person that retreats. So if for no other reason, you've got to do it for yourself. Because how many people, when you're sitting in that place of feeling unseen and unheard and unworthy, think about how you feel when you make it to that place. Everything around you is extreme. Everything is going to fall apart. Your life is terrible. You can't find good things at all in your relationship to think about. And the dog peed on the carpet. I mean, it all happens at the same time. You've got to be able to work yourself back out of that place. You've got to recognize that you do it, and you are the one responsible through the power of God to be able to fight that feeling of always wanting to retreat. And we do it in our relationships, we do it in our friendships, we do it with our families and our parents and our kids, and it's not okay. It's not healthy, and it's not going to keep you in a good place.
Amen. Number 3, the principle of proper timing. The principle of proper timing. The success of a conversation can be maximized if the timing of the conversation is carefully chosen. Timing is everything, all right? Fellas, timing is everything. So this can be illustrated easily by bringing up something, Lisa knows she can't bring up major things to me like just before bed, because I stew on it all night. I mean, if she brings up something major to me, some kind of worry about finances or the kids or whatever at night, I can't sleep. It will keep me up all night worrying about that. So she knows that when we talk about those kind of things, it has to be in the morning. The timing has to be correct. And you have to know when that timing is. And the same way with Lisa. I can't bring up things at certain times with her, because I have to understand that she's not so much a worrier, I'm the worrier, but I have to be careful when I say stuff. If we just got into an argument and I'm like, oh yeah, well, one more thing, just not a good time. And I have to be careful of how I breathe things to her, because I understand she does become defensive sometimes. She does take those things internal and she'll close those things up. So I have to be very careful. I've learned to dance because I have to dance around some of those issues sometimes. But fellas, that's the way you have to learn to do that. Communicate to your spouse in a way that makes sense to her and not a way that she feels like that you're coming at her, attacking her, and trying to destroy her or hurt her.
I've given him lots of ammunition to use too, because I can be very defensive. Again, and you can say, well, I have good reason. Look at all these things that have happened to me. Look at what was done to me. All of these things that I brought into our marriage. It's a miracle that we have made it and are where we are today, only by the grace of God. But even now, I have to fight being defensive. It rises up in me immediately, and I recognize it, and I try and back down, and I don't always do a great job with it. But I have had to learn about the bedtime thing and not bringing up big things because I'm a tired woman. I'm just tired. So when I go to bed, when my head hits a pillow, I'm out in minutes, and I feel like I can't be responsible for what I'm saying. So when I am reminding him right before bed about the student loan debt that we have because our 4 kids have just all been through college and one is still left in college, I'm like, oh yeah, we got to do something about that. And I'm out, and then he hasn't slept the whole night. He just can't do it. But things don't keep me awake. I am a sleeper. But the other thing that I've had to learn with the whole proper timing thing is, yes, you don't interrupt football games or the fishing show on Saturday mornings or, I had to ask you to fix the dryer yesterday while you were watching something, and I thought, okay.
And I did it.
You did.
Kinda.
Sort of.
I got up.
It's semi-working. But here's what you have to do and what your spouse and your relationships need to recognize about you is that you have got to create time and space for there to be a proper time. If you're the type that is always coming home and you're immediately going through your mail and you're doing this and you've gone out to the garage because it's on your agenda, you got to change the oil in your car and you have a list of things to do. There's so much to do in this world, and the kids have to get to soccer practice and you've got to get on to something else, and it doesn't seem like there's very much time to breathe. Or you're on your phone and you've got to check your emails again and all of those things. And I know because I, in essence, was doing 2 businesses at once that was all online related on my phone. And if you're not careful, you're never creating time or space for someone to have a proper time to come to you. You're always feeling like you're interrupting the other person because they are always so busy. You've got to recognize that you're doing that. And then if you're doing the step 1 and the step 2 properly, if you're learning your responses and if you're taking care of those things, then you've created a safe place also. Not just a time for that conversation, but you need to create that safe place. I need to know that when I come to Kelly with something that is important and on my heart, he's not going to tear me down. I need to know it's a safe place, and it needs to be the same for him. I'll never forget a time that Kelly was going through a struggle. It was in our old church, and he was just having a difficulty with something. And maybe I'm just that type of person that keeps a lot out in front of me, and I am kind of a go and do, and I do a lot of things. But I walked into his office, and he was sitting there, and he was sitting on his couch in his office, and I could tell that he had been crying. And I thought, well, that's so odd. And, immediately I think our kids or something has happened. And so I sat down with him, and we were talking, and he was just going through something that was difficult. And I remember him saying to me, and I was just like, I'm sorry, I just didn't realize. And he said, sometimes I just need you to notice. I just need you to notice. You see, I get defensive pretty easily. I can retreat. I can just assume everybody is fine because I need you to be fine so that I can be fine, when that's not the case. We've got to pay attention in our relationships. We've got to be noticers. We've got to create safe places for our relationships and our spouses to be able to bring things to us and know that they are coming to speak to us in a safe place. And that just doesn't happen automatically for most of us, because I can't be the only one that does those things. That would be impossible. So I think it's a little bit more universal than maybe what a lot of us are realizing or willing to say. But there has to be that safety in communication and conversation and a noticing about us with the other person.
Yeah. And let me just add to that. We can't walk in fear all the time that you're going to say the right thing, walking on eggshells that you're going to set somebody off. You can't walk in fear all the time, nor can you always hide stuff from your spouse because you're afraid of how they might process it or how they might react to it or whatever. Again, if we live in fear of these kind of things, what we do is we isolate and it pulls you two apart. Listen, God put you together. There's nothing that you guys can't handle together. And I realize that conflict comes within families when it comes through finance or it comes through the family or something like that. Those are the issues that ends up pulling families apart. But if you will pick your times wisely and in those times be able to speak things and don't hold on to things. Don't hold on to issues or situations that happen. Something happened here. Something happened with the kids or the kids are into something that I just don't want. I want to keep it from my spouse. Don't keep it. Don't hold on to it because then it begins to rot inside of you and it begins to let you be okay with holding stuff away from people. Get those things out. Now, again, don't do it right before bed. Do it in a time where you guys can talk. And here's another thing that we talked about just a little while ago. When you do that, do it with eye contact. You can have verbal touching and nonverbal touching, right? I mean, I can be able to look at her and I can be able to touch her with my eyes, kind of, I guess I should say, is maybe a more, let me change that. I didn't say that right. You can have physical touch or non-physical touch. That's what I meant to say. So I can reach out and touch her with my hand, or I can also touch her with my eyes by giving her my attention and letting her see that what she is saying is registering with me. I'm tracking with her, and I understand what's going on. So knowing the right times to do those is very important. Okay,
Yeah, for sure.
Let's keep going. Number 4, the principle of mirroring. Mirroring. Easy for me to say, right? The principle of mirroring. Understanding can be enhanced if we measure it often throughout the conversation. So what this principle just is that we have to be willing to listen to what someone says and then so that they know that we're tracking with them, reevaluate what they're saying. I was writing some things down and I said, hey, that's an acronym that says EAR, E-A-R, so it helps you guys remember it, okay? The first one is empathize with them. Empathize with the person that you're speaking to. So when I'm talking to Lisa and she's giving me something, I need to empathize with her. I need to say to her, I know how you feel. I know what you're going through. And with our faces, we can empathize and let them know that I'm tracking with her. I understand the pain that she's going through. Number 2 is affirm. Always look to encourage. Look at your spouse or look at that significant person and affirm what they're saying and value the things that they say. Do it with your eyes and do it with your face and do it with your voice. Just say, I'm with you. You are doing a great job. Don't think of yourself that way, but always be affirming and be kind. And then the last one is repeat, E-A-R, all right? The last one is repeat. And this is just repeat back to them what they're saying. So you're feeling this way, or you're feeling this way, or let me get this straight. This happened, and being able to affirm that back to them and repeat that back to them helps them be able to process that, helps me be able to be clear about what was being said. So that's that process of mirroring. When I can listen to what she says and mirror that back to her, helps her be able to hear it from another perspective, but at the same time, it helps her be able to know that I'm affirming her and I'm empathizing with her in the same time.
Yeah, we had this come up again very recently in our house. And, we learned about mirroring. It sounds kind of weird, but I remember learning it in parenting classes all those years ago about how you need to mirror that enthusiasm for your kids when they are so excited about something, but you're not. I remember Braxton used to love to draw pictures at school and bring them home and hang them on the refrigerator. And remember this one time he brought home a picture and he had drawn a picture of me. But every time Braxton would take not every time, but many times he would and he was little, would do that picture, I always looked like a baked potato. I just thought, why is he just drawing me like a spud all the time? And the other funny thing was Braxton always drew himself taller than Kelson in the family, even though Kelson was taller than him. Braxton would be big and Kelson would be teeny tiny, and then there would be the girls and the spud mom and then Kelly. But so I would, try and be excited about his picture. But this one time I had taken his picture and I had thrown it in the trash can because I think it was right after Brooklyn was asking me why I didn't look like her Little Mermaid doll whenever she saw my stomach one time. And she was like, she brought me the doll and said, we were playing like, where's your eyes? Where's your belly button? And when I showed her my belly button, Brooklyn went and got her Little Mermaid doll in the little two-piece outfit, came back and said, it doesn't look like this. No, it doesn't because of you, because of the twins.
Too much information.
Because two people.
TMI.
I remember trying to mirror the enthusiasm.
Don't be extra.
Sorry, it's just fun to talk about these kids that are now adults. But here's the thing. We can take things so internal, we take them the wrong way, and I have to be able to understand and have a confidence in what someone is saying, to seek to understand. What is that? I need to seek to understand and not be understood. You know, the old proverb. So this is what happened in our house recently. I thought I was using a proper time to speak about something. And, I don't always just open up about things that are happening in my life. You guys might think that. But at home, we're not like always having those serious conversations. We laugh a lot and we have fun. But I was just telling, I've been through this year of struggle, of kind of tiredness and lots of work. And so last week or a couple of weeks ago, I was telling Kelly, I was just kind of talking about life and things that were happening and some of our upcoming events and talking about real estate. And I said, I'm not sure that I really see myself going back into real estate like I was in there before. And his response to me was, you just like to conquer. And then he walked off. And I'm not sure, if I think about it in the moment, that he even looked me in the face. So this is what I know after being married this long, that there is nothing that my husband would say to me to intentionally hurt my feelings. He doesn't have that side of him to try and make a jab or to hurt my feelings. He just sometimes doesn't realize what he's saying. It's what it is. So he said that, kind of walked away, and I thought, that's not what I'm looking for. Is that what you think I do? You just think I conquer everything? What did I do? Just conquer raising our kids and conquer every job and conquer being a pastor's wife, and I just conquer and I move on and I retreated and I went to feeling like unseen and unheard, and then I'm like, man, I'm just unworthy to do a single thing. And I get to that place so fast. It's just crazy. The thing is, I just never brought it back up, but it stuck with me, and I thought, that's all he thinks. That's like the depth of what he thinks about me, is that I just like to conquer something and find that success and then go on, and that's not at all who I want to be or really so much of what I think about myself. Yes, I like challenges. Yes, I do a lot of those things, but that's not what I was looking for from him. If Kelly had been mirroring, if we were in that situation kind of realizing that I was really needing to talk, I'm just looking for affirmation. I'm looking for affirmation that he is like understands that I'm going through some changes in my life and that I just need to affirm that you love me anyways, even though I think I'm crazy. I think I'm crazy enough. I don't need you thinking I'm crazy too. I need you to affirm me and remind me that I'm not, that we are going to be okay no matter what I do. That's what I need to know. If I don't have a job, if I don't do anything else with my life but sit on the couch and watch Hallmark movies year-round because it's possible, because it goes from Christmas to Winterfest to a season of love to spring fling to summer romance to harvest time and back to Christmas. It's awesome. Really, the whole series of movies. But if I do nothing else than that, I need to be secure that he loves me, not because of anything that I do. So we have to be careful if we create safe places, if we're making time for people to talk to us. You need to look someone in the face. Had he looked at me in the face and said, you just like to conquer, and we were looking at each other, he would have seen my face drop and he would have known. But it was just kind of, maybe it was too much in passing. I don't know. But this is what's happening in our world. And I feel very, very strongly about this principle and this premise is that everybody needs to be affirmed in their life and in their relationships. It's a core desire, I believe, that God put inside of us in relationship to find that. And if you cannot find it with your spouse, you're going to go somewhere else looking for affirmation. And it is not hard to find. You can post something online purposefully because you know people are going to affirm you. And you'll start looking for that affirmation. And that affirmation is going to start to feel good if you're not finding it from your spouse. And then that is how, in our world today, that someone is going to seek affirmation outside of their relationship with their spouse. They're going to find it somewhere because they need it, because you need it. But if it isn't happening in your home, you're going to find it in all the wrong places. And that's how affairs are happening. That's how inappropriate relationships are happening. So you've got to guard yourself against that. I love this scripture in John, and it's another one of Jesus' prayers, and it says this: my prayer is not that, and he's praying, he's saying this prayer for the disciples and believers, and again, he's about to go, but he says this, he's praying for people. My prayer is not that you would take them out of the world, but that you would protect them from the evil one. See, this is what I really think, is that you would be foolish to think there isn't evil that's happening in the world. And what the enemy knows is that if he can destroy your marriage, if he can destroy your family, he can destroy the heartbeat of the human race, because we were created to be in relationship with God and in relationship with other peoples, and to find that love and affirmation with our spouse. And the enemy knows that if you can't find that, you're going to go seeking for it somewhere else, therefore destroying the family and destroying just mankind by families that are torn apart. And we see it day in and day in and day out. Happens all the time. And it's a real thing. So we've got to learn to communicate. We've got to practice these things. We can't assume that it's just going to be easy or it's going to happen naturally. Again, almost 26 years of marriage, and I've just told you things that I've done in the last 2 weeks. I fight it all the time, but I recognize it and I'm willing to push through it instead of letting it do the opposite effect of what it could, which is letting the enemy just destroy us.
Awesome. Okay, last one. We got to go quickly on the principle of prayer. Success in communication is more likely when we invite God to be an active participant in God. And we ended with this one because I think that it's one that we maybe overlook the most. The importance of having prayer within your marriage is the thing that keeps your marriage together. It's the glue that holds your marriage together. When I can pray with Lisa, when I can pray for her, not just that God would change her, but when I can pray for the needs that she has in her life, when I can hear her praying for the needs that I have in my life, when we can pray together for our family, for the direction of our family, for our kids, for issues that come up, when we can pre-pray those things, when the issues do come up in our lives, we have already attacked those and already covered those in prayer, so we know that God's going to handle them. When things come up with our kids or comes up with our future or finances, when I know that we've already dedicated these things to the Lord and know that God is aware of these things, and I've got peace in my heart knowing that these things are going to be taken care of by God, when I have peace in my heart knowing that anything that I bring to my wife, that she's going to be able to handle, that she's going to love me through the process, she's not going to push me away, helps me to understand that not only do I have a wife that loves me, but I have a God that loves me. And he loves me so much that he gave me a godly wife. And can I tell you, and I don't know, I'm nervous about saying anything about her now because it just makes me nervous that I'm going to say the wrong thing. Who I married today was not who I married 26 years ago. It really wasn't. I mean,
Thank the Lord.
when I married her 26 years ago, I purposefully kept her away from my parents until I knew that this was the person I was wanting to marry. Because all I needed was was the eyebrow. My mom always has the eyebrow. You know, she does this. She raises one eyebrow. And when I get that eyebrow, it's all done. I mean, it's all over. And whenever I would date someone, my mom usually would say something about that person, negative or whatever, and then I lost it. I mean, I would just lose heart at that point. I knew that wasn't going to work because my parents weren't in agreement with that, and I knew that God was not going to be in agreement with that either. And so when I met Lisa, I kept her away from my parents until I knew that she was the one that I was really going to marry. And then I slowly brought the two together, mixed the two together like water and oil. You just slowly until it emulsifies. But now, the person that I married has far surpassed even me in my relationship with God. She has grown incrementally even farther than what I have as a pastor. She's the one that I run to and turn to for my spiritual encouragement and my spiritual help. When I was a young man, I remember a youth pastor friend of mine talking about his wife, saying that he admired her and that was his hero, that was his mentor spiritually. And I remember being a young high school kid and saying, I want that someday. And I got it. I got it. Because God knew. And here's the thing. She has grown because she has kept her life consistent with God, and she's growing daily in her walk with God, and that comes through prayer. And so I'm saying that to you guys to let you know, find time not just for intimacy in your relationship. That's important, but find time with spiritual intimacy with your spouse. Find time that you can pray together. I know Scott and Kim are always, they're the couple that I always think about, Scott and Kim Case. They're the couple I always think about because every morning they get together and do their devotions together and pray together. And that is such an important thing in relationships, to have a spouse that you can pray for her needs, she can pray for your needs, that you can pray for your family, that you can pray for the direction of your family. And when you do that, you know, it's really true. The family that prays together stays together. And when you can pray and bring those things to the Lord's always going to take care of those things that you have in your life.
I'll just say something really quick about prayer, and that is, and I see it a lot because I hear conversations with different women, we've got to get over our fear of praying out loud for people. Just got to get over that. It's another one of those stumbling blocks I feel like the enemy has put there, making you think that you might not say the right words, or you're afraid to pray. I was terrified to pray when we got married. Before we were married, I remember sitting in his car, I think we were engaged, and he said, "You pray tonight." And like I just remember, I could go back to that feeling like, you always pray. I don't want to. But, you know, I'm a conqueror, so I do remember praying. I rose to the challenge, and I did. So there's got to be a little fight in you to want to seek after things that are a little bit uncomfortable sometimes. And praying out loud for people, even for your spouse or for your kids, can be uncomfortable. But you have got to do it. You've got to practice. If you can say, yeah, I pray internally, and God hears it. And yes, he does. But if you'll take some time that you're spending with God and say those prayers out loud and hear your voice say those words when you're praying, you will begin to encourage yourself. And the more you hear your voice in prayer, the more you'll be able to pray together and go together when there's a need and be able to pray for your spouse. I've grown in prayer and spiritually because I've heard the words that my husband has prayed over me or given me strength when I've needed prayer. And I know he's praying, and that's a place of safety. But if you continue to say, well, I'm just not comfortable praying together, we pray separately, and I'm just not comfortable, I'm telling you, you're going to have to make yourself a little bit uncomfortable. If you always live by what you feel because you're uncomfortable, you're going to experience the bare minimum in your life. So if you if you don't pray together because you're uncomfortable and you're not willing to work at it, you just might experience a bare minimum marriage if you can't conquer that, because you need to be together, praying together and unified in who God is and who God is for you as a relationship and as a family. So press through that fear. It can be conquered. And I promise when you come out on the other side of it, you'll be in such a better place. You'll wonder, why did I wait so long?
Amen. Better communication comes when you communicate with each other and when you communicate with God. That's how you get better communication. So with you and your spouse, with you and your significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever the case might be, let me ask you to do two things. Come up with a plan. Come up with a plan. Make time to sit down and talk face to face every day. Okay, if you've got little kids and bedtime is 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, if you don't have a bedtime for your kids, you need to work on getting them at a specific bedtime that they're always in bed at that time. After they're put in bed, you and your spouse sit down and have time that you can sit on the couch and talk face to face with each other and look at each other in the eye. Turn the television off or get rid of the cell phones and look face to face and talk face to face with each other and talk about your day. And then before you go, ask each other, how are you doing? How are you doing? What's going on with you? And allow that time that you guys can communicate face to face. And then here's the other one. Make a commitment to pray together daily. Make a commitment to pray together daily. Pray about your family, pray about individual needs, and pray for God to make your marriage stronger and closer to each other. And if you'll do that, you know, Peter Scazzaro, I used the quote last year, and I can't remember exactly what the quote was, but here's the inference of what he said. You can only love your spouse out of the overflow of your spiritual life. You can only love your spouse out of the overflow. Do you remember last year I had the vases up here and I filled them up with Skittles, and I just said, you love your family out of the overflow of once your vase is full, once your life is full, then God is able to pour more into you, and it overflows. And it's out of that overflow that you're able to love your wife. If I am only loving my wife and still have needs in my life, then my needs are always going to come before hers because I'm always going to be more in tune to what I need, and I can't believe she didn't affirm me. I can't believe she didn't take care of that. Why did she say that to attack me? It's always about me. But when my life is overflowing and when my life is full with the presence of God, then I can take all the excess that I have and I can completely fill her up and put that into her life and allow the love that God has put inside of me to overflow into her. That's my responsibility. Now, she can take that very same responsibility and understand the love that she's going to give to me is out of the overflow of what God has done for her. And folks, I'm telling you, if we can do that, we'll have strong marriages, we'll have strong families, we will have strong lives. And for those of you who are young people in here, teenagers and young adults who are in the process of looking at marriage and that kind of stuff, can I just say to you, take these things to heart. I realize that some of you didn't grow up in families where you had strong relationships with your moms and dads and they were fragmented and different things that go on. Then find a couple that you can be mentored by and just ask another couple, can we go out and have dinner with you or just hang around you? We are just learning this process of being together, and we want to invest in that by being around a healthy couple. And I want you to know, we are available. I've always wanted to put together a program where we could do something like this at our church, and we'll strive to do that maybe here in the next few months. But make this process of communication strong, and let prayer be a strong part of that communication.